even my silence speaks your name. When I do not say it, it trembles in my throat, pressing against the walls of my heart like waves. Against cliffs too old to crumble, you are carved into the hush between my thoughts. Etched like a secret no wind dares to carry away, I wake, and you are therein the breath I take before sound begins. In the ache that precedes movement, you are the stillness beneath every noise, the thread stitching the torn edges of my soul, and I am the book left open on a nightstand, pages rustling with your memory. I pretend I don't wait, but I do, even in moments filled with distraction. I listen for something that sounds like your return, your footsteps in dreams, your name in the silence after laughter, even when surrounded by voices. I strain for yours, as if it were a note buried in the symphony. Of things I cannot hold, I have learned the art of missing you in quiet ways. Lighting candles I don't need, sipping tea long after it's gone cold. Staring at the moon, not for beauty, but for memory. You were the language I never fully learned. Yet I speak you fluently in absence. Every sigh a syllable, every pause a poem, every silence a scream in soft disguise. You are the reason the night feels louder, why the stars blink like messages too far to decode. You were not just loved, you were believed in. You were not just held, you were home. Even now, when time has dulled the urgency of my tears, I find you in the spaces I thought were mine, the spaces between breaths, between heartbeats, between here and the edge of everything. I carry you like breathless prayer, too sacred to speak, too necessary to leave behind. Even the shadows remember your shape, and when light returns, I flinch, as if it might reveal, what if hidden even from myself? There are no songs that do not echo you. There is no silence that does not vibrate with your name. And though I've buried you in every goodbye, if ever whispered, you still bloom, a wildflower in a field. I swore I would never walk again. You are the beginning, and the ache after the end. You are the echo that forgot how to fade, and I am the wall that keeps listening. You are the pause before the truth, and the silence after it. When I reach for sleep, you meet me at the threshold, not as a dream, but as a sensation too tender to hold. Even my dreams tiptoe around you, afraid that if they get too close, you'll vanish again. Sometimes I speak to you in my mind, and the silence answers like you used to, not in words, but in feeling, a warmth on the skin, a sudden breath I didn't take, a tear that forms without sadness. Just longing, just you. I have loved you in places you never stepped into. I have planted gardens in moments we never shared. And even those flowers know your name. They bloom for you. And wilt when you feel far. I am full of things I never said to you, and things I did, but only when you weren't there to hear them. This silence is not empty. It is crowded with confessions, cluttered with hope, weighted with everything that dared not live in sound. And yet, the world moves on. It drips forward like honey from a spoon, slow and sweet and inevitable. But I remain still, because you once stood here, and I would rather wait in your memory than race toward a future without you. I whisper your name into cups of tea, into rain on window panes, into the wind between trees. The world hears me and calls it silence, but you know better. You hear me always. You've always known how to listen without needing to ask. You are the touch that memory cannot erase, the face that distance cannot blur, the soul I recognized even before I knew what a soul was. You're not gone. Not really. You live in the part of me that refuses to forget. Even my hands remember how to hold you. They tremble with absence as if missing a weight they were born to carry. They close into fists, not in anger, but in grief, because open palms can no longer feel your skin. I once thought silence meant peace, but now I know it means presence. A deeper kind. You are still here, not in form, but in frequency. And when I quiet myself enough, I feel it, you breathing through me. I do not write for you anymore. I write with you, as if your soul presses mine from the inside out, as if these poems are just pages you whispered into my chest while I was too heartbroken to speak. Even when I forget the shape of your voice, I remember how it made me feel. That safety, that surrender, as if you saw every shattered piece and called it beautiful anyway. No one speaks like you. Even in memory, you sound like forgiveness. Like the beginning of spring after a winter that overstayed. You were not a season. You were the rhythm seasons dance to. And now that you're gone, the calendar feels broken. I mark time by the distance from your last gaze, by the number of sunrises that happened without your name in them. But even now, the light seems to look for you. It hesitates at the window as if unsure you're really not here. I no longer look for closure. I look for traces, for signs that you existed beyond the edges of what could be proven, and I find them in the most mundane places, in the way I stir my coffee, in the pause before I speak, in the sentence I abandon because it reminds me too much of your laugh. There are days I forget to forget you, and in those days I am most myself. I am not healed, I am not whole, but I am true, and that is enough. I see lovers walk by, hands intertwined, eyes drunk on presence, and I smile. Not out of bitterness, but because I knew that once I held that once, and though it left its light behind. You are the bruise I've stopped hiding, the scar I trace when no one is looking. You are the ache I wear like perfume, invisible but always present, even when the world teaches me to move on. I stay, not because I cannot move, but because I choose to honor the space you filled, to guard the silence where your voice once lived. I dance with ghosts now, not the frightening kind, but the kind that taught me how to love, how to lose, how to survive beauty even after it's gone. You were a lesson written in tenderness and ache, and I was the student who refused to graduate. Even my shadow misses yours. There are places it won't walk alone, corners of my world that once echoed with your light now flicker with longing, and yet I return to them like a song I cannot stop singing. My soul remembers you like a secret it was never supposed to share. But even silence has limits. Even the sky cracks open when it holds too much rain. And I, too, burst in quiet ways, a letter unsent, a tear unnoticed, a heartbeat skipped at the mention of your name. You were not simply a person. You were a presence a gravity, you pulled the tides of me toward you. And now, with you gone, I am a sea lost from its moon. Nothing feels centered, nothing rests, and in this drift I whisper your name into the waves, hoping they carry it somewhere your soul still listens. I do not want to forget. I want to remember without pain, to recall your laugh without flinching, to see your favorite season without blinking back tears. But healing is not linear. It loops like a spiral, sometimes forward, sometimes back, but always deeper. And you are the core I keep circling, the truth I return to no matter how far I stray. I've built an altar of moments, not with candles or pictures, but with glances, breaths, songs I skip because they carry your weight. You are the hymn I hum without knowing the words, the tune that lingers after the music ends. And still, even in all this missing, I would not trade what we had for peace. I would rather ache with your memory than smile with forgetfulness. Because pain is proof, grief is the echo of something real. And I would rather feel the echo than lose the sound completely. Sometimes I sit in silence, not to forget you, but to find you again. In the quiet, you return, soft, golden, familiar, like the way the earth smells after rain, like the way your name still fits so perfectly in my chest. You are the moment before sleep, when everything is still and the heart speaks loudest. You are the sigh I release when I stop pretending I've healed. There are nights I do not cry, but I do not smile either. Nights when the moon feels too far and the stars too silent. And in those hours I let your memory unfold like letters I never sent. Creases worn by hesitation, ink blurred by time, even my pulse remembers you. In the stillness between beats, you echo. You exist in the pauses, not in what is said, but in what cannot be. That is where you live now, and that is where I return. You were not a fleeting moment. You were a season that etched itself into my bones, and I carry that winter, that autumn, that endless summer of you in my walk, in my gaze, in my silence. Even when the world forgets you, I want, even when your name fades from every tongue but mine, it will still bloom in my breath, still thunder through my stillness, still turn silence into something sacred. I do not look for healing as I once did. I look for meaning, and in this ache, there is meaning, a reminder that what we shared was vast, real, infinite. Even in its ending, I walk into rooms and forget why I came only, to realize I was chasing a feeling you once left there. Even the air remembers the shape of you. It carries it like perfume, subtle, undeniable, and how strange it is to long for something you once held, to ache for someone whose voice you knew like scripture and still not know how to let go. Letting go, they say it's a choice. But I wonder, can you let go of the moon once it's carved its name in your tide? Can you unlearn the warmth of a soul that once matched yours? No, you do not let go. You make room, you grow around it. You carry it like a second heartbeat, a rhythm you don't choose, but learn to live with, and I have learned to live with you in your absence. To speak without speaking, to love without touch, to weep without sound. This is not silence, this is sacred noise. This is the language of those who once had everything and now hold only memory. But oh, what a memory it is, even the stars envy it. There are mornings I wake with your name already aching on my tongue, before the light fully arrives, before the noise of day can drown it. As if sleep releases you back into my bloodstream, and I carry your echo until night takes you again. You were not an event. You were a transformation. I loved you, and I was never the same. And though you left, you did not undo me. You redefined me. You reshaped the outline of my soul. I am what remains after love has spoken and silence has answered. Even my memories speak your name in ways I can no longer control. They rise like breath, like tides, like spring despite winter's protests. And I let them, because forgetting you would be the truest betrayal. Not of you, but of what love was meant to mean sometimes. I think of what could have been, the lives we might have lived, the moments we might have shared, but that grief, too, has softened. Not because I stopped wishing, but because I started blessing. Each what if is a prayer, each never was a sacred truth. I meet people who do not know you, and it breaks me quietly. How can they not feel the tremble of your presence in my breath? How can the world continue as if you were not its axis? But then I remember you were never just mine. You belonged to light, to sound, to silence, and now you belong to everything, and I belong to the memory of you. Even my laughter remembers you, even my silence, especially my silence, holds your face like a fragile painting only moonlight can reveal. I trace your outline in words no one hears. I fold your name into poems ill never share, but know this: you are still spoken by my stillness, by my waiting, by the breath I hold when I remember your hand not holding mine. And even if I never see you again, never hear you again, never reach you again, I will never stop answering to the name you gave me with your eyes. I will never stop speaking you in silence, because some loves do not die. They simply fall quiet, and in that quiet they speak louder than ever before. So if you ever wonder, if you ever ache to know this, even now, even here, even after all this time, even my silence still speaks your name.